Hey folks, Ken here. Lovely sunny Dublin again. It's about 18 degrees where I am, on the coast in North County Dublin. Just wanted to have a talk through what the plans are for the fish. Still flashing. Um, Again with the Larynx, the last dose about 2 weeks ago seemed okay for about a week, and then they start flashing, particularly at night. So what I've done is, I think I might have mentioned on the last video, I've ordered Larynx Pro um, from a place in Belgium, seemed to be the cheapest. I'll stick a link in the description for anyone outside the UK. It worked out at I think €114 shipped to one of these pickup locations nearby for the 2.5 kilo, I think it is, box, which is really good because if I went through the UK, I'd pay probably upwards of 180 for 2 packets of the regular stuff, or 2 tubs. Anyway, so the plan is, I've been looking at some videos of Ricky Stoddard and Jack the Baldwin Reefer and what their methodology, and I decided maybe to do a combination of that and just to try something. You can see the fish are fine. One or two of the white ones are a bit veiny and pink, but I've seen them a lot worse when they have something like Fluke. Now, the first thing I'll do is, obviously, I'm going to scrape a few and make sure it absolutely is Fluke, because it's not unusual when you've had Fluke to get something like Chilo or Costi after it. So I'll make absolutely sure, be reasonably confident it is. Then what I'll do is I'll do a PP. I won't video the PP. You know what a PP is. I sort of use 2 grams per ton. It's slightly more than the recommended on the packet, so that's 2 grams per 1,000 litres of water. And before I do that, I will prepare the pond. So I'll do a full bottom drain flush, and I'll vac the pond the day before and feed very sparingly between that and the treatment. So I probably maybe on Wednesday night do the clean, top the pond up, and then on Thursday night do the PP. On Friday, that's assuming now the Larynx Pro is here. I haven't got it yet. I should have it by the end of this week. Um, and then what I will do is, as per Jack the Reefer, Jack was showing, now he didn't say what dose of Larynx Pro he uses, but he said he does go above. Now I'll probably go 110, 120%, maybe just 110. I generally go above with treatments anyway, because I tend to leave the drum on, and I'll talk about that in a sec. And whether the drum takes out some of the treatment or whether it flushes it out, because there has to be a trickle in. Mine uses pond water to flush the drum, so it has to be topped up. So you're diluting the pond water on a continual basis. If you diluting diluting water, diluting the medication, which So what I'll do is, now this is the thing, doing all these things together, you're never sure which of them worked. But anyway, I will do the probably 110%. So Jack has a good video. He's a big vat and he uses air and he leaves it for half an hour or so, and then he throws it into the pond. But what he does, interestingly, is he leaves the filters off for 6 hours. And I will try that. I mean, I've air on the back. I don't have the spin drifter on, so they'll be fine. 6 hours without filters. They've been off for longer than that when I'm doing large water changes and so on. By the way, that thing there is my Cactoli monitor, so that sends the signal, the readings, into the thing inside. You've probably seen before. So I'll do that. I will bypass, I think, the drum. Just probably, if you leave it for 6 hours, I might think about that one and see. If you have any comments on it, let me know. I know some people do, some people don't. I do have a pond vac for, so it's easy enough for me to clean up both the pond and the drum itself after I do that, because the bio chamber in particular can get a bit messy. And then what I will do as well, and this is something I got from Fluke X from the packet. This is the new treatment from VetArc, the producers of Fluke Solve and Fluke Solve Plus, and they suggest bypassing a shower for the duration of the treatment. That they say the shower can strip the treatments. Now, you know what? And I heard the guy, I can't remember the guy's name now, from Eden Coy during the week, he Fluke or something, and he made this comment that resonated with me, and that was, I never had all these problems until I put a shower in. And I'm exactly the same, and I know there's correlation and causation. But my lilies, by the way, just a bit of fertilizer. They're in stagnant water. I don't have the waterfall turned on. I will probably at some stages to get a bit cooler over the next few days, but they do like stagnant water. I found before. That's the pond, the drum going, if you can hear it. So it is correlation and causation with the trickle tower. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off for at least 5 days. Probably 5 days is enough. I don't think medications are active in the water for any longer than that, to be honest. And I can turn it on every couple of days for a minute or so, or every couple of times a day for a minute or so, just to keep the media wet, you know, so just not have it, you know, maybe the friction of the water going down, and you know the trickle tower, it's not sitting in water, water trickles down to it. So that's my plan. And then what I'll do is I'm getting a bit of string algae as well. I just noticed it's not bad enough to be reacting, and I think the sunny weather's to die back in a bit over the next few days. Another thing I noticed when I was cleaning, sorry, I'm a bit random here, I noticed on my fiberglass in a couple of places, and it happened in the back, I was using a power washer, and you can see here the flow coat has come away. Now that shouldn't happen, you know. Okay, you don't want to be going mad with a power washer on it at the same time, but it should be solid enough to take a power washer. So I don't know, I can probably get a bit of flow coat and touch that up. How effective it'll be, I don't know. But I found flakes of flow coat. Now I did have an issue when the pond was done first, where I noticed after a couple of days, and this was without water, there was a shadow. I had a frame over and a tarp, because that's what a lot of people advised me to do. But the first thing the fiberglasser did when he came was he took it down. He took off the tarpaulin and he fiberglassed it. And it was a day like today, really got 2 beautiful days for doing it. And I noticed this sort of white shadow of the frame for the tarpaulin on the fiberglass. And he came back and looked at it and said, and it was the guy who owns the business rather than 2 guys who work for him, and he said, no, listen, that's not right. They should have covered it up again. It shouldn't have been in direct sunlight. So they came and they flow coated. I think it was all this side of the pond, and it was parts of the top pond. It was this side of it that, if you can see, that side that got most of the damage. Now, whether they sanded it down, whether I'm seeing flakes of flow coat over flow coat, that's coming away, I don't know, but it shouldn't be happening at the same time. Anyway, I digress. So once I've done the first treatment, Ricky Stoddard's method is that he does a half treatment on day 2 and a half treatment of day 3. I've never done that. A lot of people recommended it. And Jack did a second treatment, but he did a second full treatment, and it depended very much on the temperature. So he said if it was warm, he did it sort of on 3 or 4 days. You know, at the moment my pond is 20 to 21, so it probably would be 3 or 4 days. If it's down at, you know, between 10 and 15, then it goes out to 6 or 7 days. But I know, I definitely, looking at them, I have gill fluke lay eggs, and you need a second treatment really. And I did put in a second treatment, the Larynx, after a week. But that was when the pond was cooler. That's going back now about a month plus. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, it is the second treatment anyway. Right, so that's the plan. If you have any comments, let me know on the treatment regime. I've read good things about Fluke X. Dave in Coastal Koi in the UK, he's over Nottingham direction. He tested it. He had Fluke in one of his ponds, and a few of his customers have tested it, and so far the results have been very positive. I think most people did a PP beforehand just to strip the mucus layer, and then they say with the Fluke X it works out cheaper because you can get away with one treatment, whereas most of the others, particularly with Gill Fluke, you need to. God, I don't want to think of the money I've spent so far between. I did have the flubanol at the start, didn't work. The Larynx Fluke Solve I had from last year didn't work. The Larynx I had to buy, and then the Larynx Pro I've had to buy. So I'm down in total. Well, this season alone, I'm at about €300 to €400. You can see my shower there. He's a little bit pink in places, a little bit veiny, which shows he's agitated. But they're not, as I say, I've seen them queue up literally at the bottom drains to flash. They're not that bad, you know. Fluke, I suppose, as long as they don't start cutting themselves, which they really haven't. My new Tancho did have a bit of a redness on his side, but it healed up on itself. It wasn't anything serious. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm starting to ramble. And if you have any comments, ideas on flake and flow coat or treating Fluke, let me know. Talk to you again. Cheers.